We are here for another game review. Actually, before we start the game review, I want to actually just shout out to the MSO tournament that's coming up, because I want everyone who's watching this video to consider signing up for this Mind Sports Olympiad.
Right. There may even be a pre-MSO warm-up tournament.
Right, which will be pretty cool. So right now, which game are we reviewing?
So this is testingqwerty, or me, versus Alek in the semifinals of the BGA free setup tournament.
Right. Yeah, this was a recently concluded tournament, which was won by kind of a newer player. I'm gonna butcher his name, like Matcha.
Yeah, he did very well.
Yeah, so he really knows. He's really gotten good at this game, and I kind of came out of nowhere. Like, this guy just because I actually thought Komachin was winning against him. I thought I was winning against him. Yeah. Anyway. All right. So how did this game go?
So it being a free setup, I probably had the liberty to place a neutral elsewhere, but I decided to keep it simple. So a neutral on f6 like it is, and then red on a1, and then white on d5.
So you kind of just squandered your free setup options.
Right. Well, I saw what happened in the game against you and Atari, and how white did not get a good position out of the opening. Didn't want to risk it.
It's really scary to play free setup because you have no idea. I mean, I think it's really easy to create an extremely unbalanced pie.
Right.
With the free setup. Like, red can be way too bad or still way too good. I don't know. And yeah, so we were basically playing the orthodox because we've been thinking a lot about this. And for most of this opening were pretty standard theory moves that we've kind of just came to memorize at this point. Like this move, which allows an attack on e5, and then white plays g5, which basically invites red to play e5, and there's a trap if red tries to play this move. So then instead of playing e5 directly, red plays a move just past the neutral, so that it has the kind of maximum lines of sight looking onto the other half of the board, and taking control back from e5. And then we have test 654's famous d4 move, which recontests or kind of wrests back control of e5. So now white will basically play here at this point. And this is all now, this opening has been played many times, and it took a long time for us to get here, but this is kind of the most solid, solidly supported opening that I know of in Tumbleweed. And for me, my favorite move to play here is e6, because red just played on the other side of the board, and it's just a one stack, and pretty soon it'll get cut off by presumably white will play along this line or in this e5 space, and red's going to need some support. So, and it's actually exactly what happened. And
so e5 and then k7, I guess.
And at this point, yeah, k7 just take control of both these lines. So this is a piece which is trying to kind of give support back to the pieces on the top, which will definitely get cut off pretty soon, as well as begin to build a wall along the bottom to cut off white from the bottom, because white already has very few lines of sight into the bottom. And now, like, now it becomes not so kind of intuitive what white wants to do here. So
right. I mean, we've looked at moves like G8 before, but those never quite panned out as well as you might think for white. So I think the move that I end up going with, and that I usually play, is H6 here, just to try to break up red on the right. So I guess the idea is that now white's threatening to cut with H4, which could be nice for white. This also does add a second line of sight into the bottom part of the board, so it functions nicely as a bit of a multi-purpose move. And finally, it also puts a line of sight on the neutral.
a line of sight on the neutral, and white looks into the bottom side. So if red blocks off one of these lines of sight, white still can get pieces down here.
Right.
Yeah, and you notice of this cutting point. So when I see this position, actually it's like I have OCD about the control of lines. And when I see that one of my lines, like that I had total control over one of my lines between my, like a link between my two pieces, and this suddenly becomes contested, I really want to fill the gap. I really want to kind of create these redundancies in the line so that I have, so that I don't have any risk of being cut. So that's why I
Right.
played this move h4, but it's also nice because it comes with an attack on d4.
So I guess as white, I don't mind facing this because it kind of invites me to play f4 here, which also allows white to capture the neutral and pretty much solidify the middle part of the board. So pretty good for me in terms of my playing style. Although it is kind of starting to become evident that red's getting a lot of space here, and white is pretty constrained. And there's a few other attacking moves that red can play in response to this. So f4 makes sense, but possibly moves like g4 are also playable, although I haven't had as much success with those. G4 is nice because it puts a second line of sight on d1, so potentially there's room for like a double attack in the future if red doesn't deal with that.
Right. Just and white can play this double attack there. So, but it's difficult to know. I do think like if you're going to focus on building this big ass clump in the middle, then it makes sense to try to get the obstacle represented by the neutral out of the way as fast as possible so that you can look into the bottom side. And red wants to basically build up as much wall potential on the to prevent this as quickly as possible. So that's why I'm trying to play moves in Sente. So in other words, play moves with the initiative so that I can, for instance, like this, where h7. So this is the move I play next, and it is attacking h6, and white. The only way for white to handle this, I mean, directly at least, is to make a shield. So in that case, what this exchange does is it blocks like many different white access points to the bottom side, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. And what white does in response is add 1 access point. So there's a net gain of like 3 points or something in terms of how red versus white controls the bottom.
Right. Although, and in particular, like the K8 access point is also less valuable than the other access points because it already sees like a red piece. So
yeah,
I think practically speaking, it's a little bit difficult for white to invade. I think I've only had like a few games where I've successfully been able to invade via some combination of like K8 or K9, but still a potential idea. So I guess after H5, you played A3, right? Yeah, red plays A3.
Yeah, so this is the idea that I'm having here with these opening moves for red, where I want to create moves that not only are helping out the kind of what I consider to be the main wall on the bottom side, but also link back up to the top so that if one part of my network is damaged, I can kind of pivot over to a different portion of the board and begin to control that area instead.
Right. Probably the other thing that should be mentioned is like the lateral ideas of defense along the top. So this puts a second line of sight on E3, it puts a third line of sight on G3. And so I guess what could end up happening is red can create like this quasi trapezoid shape on top that is not totally obvious how white should break it down entirely. Like there's ways for white to chip away at it, but I think in practice it's difficult for white to kill all the red pieces at this point.
Yeah.
So after a3, I played b5, which is I think an instructive tactical idea,
You really
because
like
it
this move.
prevents.
You've played
Yeah.
this move a lot.
The most immediate thing is that it prevents red from playing a cut on c5 because white can then respond with c4.
Wait, what? Does it? Okay.
No, c4. So you played b4, but yeah, so c5 and then c4.
Right.
But I guess like the secondary benefit of this move is that it puts a second line of sight on g10. So potentially it creates another means by which white can invade the bottom.
This is the invasion point.
Right.
Yeah.
So after b5, red plays f7.
F7. And let me just briefly look at if I were to play b4 in this situation. Does that look good? No, this is
That does
just going to be immediately killed. Okay.
Maybe, but I don't know. Like moves like b1 are super interesting there as well, right?
If you just, well, you mean like just now?
Like no. So if red plays instead of b1, let's say red plays b4, and then white goes after it with c5. Like
Then it's a 4 stack. It doesn't make any sense. It's too big.
Oh, that's a 4. I guess my idea was getting into like g6 or something, but maybe that's a bit too slow. So maybe this is not as efficient.
Oh, okay. But
and
okay,
potentially in that variation, white's getting along the left side, so maybe it's not as good. But yeah.
Yeah, I just saw that, but it looks cool because of this part. Just because of like now that I see with territory on, like it looks very red, but actually, this is not maybe enough. But maybe getting one. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's probably loses too much on the lower left. Anyway.
Okay, so after b5, red plays f7.
Yeah,
I think
so this has
nice
become
move.
my kind of standard way to handle the fact that I know in this variation white was gonna catch the neutral, and I basically say that e6 is a somewhat of a small sacrifice, and the idea is like after all this, hubbub over on the upper left, white maybe captures the neutral, and then I can play these 2-3 stacks flanking this, making the e6 capture very small. And just like taking a look at what we have here, this is kind of the dream for red, and for me at least. Although I guess some of this is a bit, no, it's fine.
Once you play f7 and then you play d6, it's like you only need one move to parry any attack on e7, right? So it's like not super obvious how white should actually even attack red's group in the middle.
Yeah.
That wall is pretty safe, I think. So f7, and then I played g10, just taking advantage of the line of sight while it was still available.
Yeah, this is the real tragedy of this move, because, or like of this formation for red, because I have to kind of let you get a 2-stack here. But I think I played this move, right?
And yeah, this is a nice move.
This move is interesting because it does kind of look like red's losing a lot of ground when white plays this, but I mean maybe it's still big enough anyway.
Well, it should be noted that there isn't too much for white to take advantage of. So for example, white could play like g9 here, which looks like potentially an obvious move, but then h9, right? And then g9 will fall, and that's pretty safe. So I think red can even get around here. So red can play like f9, and maybe it loses a little bit on the bottom, but then wins a little bit more on the left side. So probably some trade-offs there, but I don't like, this is where I think I started to kind of go wrong, because the other problem is that I can't play, like I would like to play g7 or something like that just to sort of disrupt you in the center, but that cut doesn't work that well because it's just responded to like with g9. So I think the best move here maybe is g8.
Did you do this one?
No, I didn't play g8. So I played after h10, I played f6 take. So I captured the neutral.
And at this point, I probably, did I just do the other 3-stack or?
You played a 3-stack on d6. That's right.
Yeah. Even
And
though
here's
probably at this point, it feels like, yeah, I guess it feels, yeah, I guess I have to, yeah, okay.
well, I was pretty happy. I mean, I thought that here I would get like a 3-stack on g7 and I would sort of start to collapse your group in the center, but it's actually not super obvious how white does that. So for example, after d6, I played a 3-stack on e6. And I think this was my first big mistake of the game.
You captured.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is kind of what I wanted you to do. So pure for the pure reason that I felt like this capture would be small. Did I do this?
Right. So after that, you played, let me see, G9. Yep.
Yeah. So it makes sense, just like it's the only contested part of this link, and it really just plugs up all the holes here.
Right. I thought tactically I was going to get ahead here actually, because I thought I had the move E7 or E8, sorry. But this doesn't work. I thought that E8 was attacking E7, but I just missed that. I already had 3 lines of sight on it. So this just didn't work at all. So after G9, I played, yeah, so after after G9, actually, I played I9. Yeah, I9, that makes sense. Yeah. And then, yeah, so with I9, I thought, again, it's just tactically missing things. I thought that I was the one that was going to be getting into G7, but it turns out you could just play a 3-stack there. So that I9 didn't work. And then I played, so after that, you played G7, I played F9.
Right, just trying to, right, then but I just got to capture here.
Right. And then you took on I9, and then I played D7. Right. So I guess the problem here for white is that, like, I have some stacks on the left, but they're all 2 stacks, and they're not that safe because you can just kind of start apple picking them eventually. And you played like a super nice move here, I think.
I played here.
You played E9. Yeah, E9.
Yeah.
I missed this move. I thought that I was going to get a lot more on the left than the bottom, but after E9, I'm just falling apart there.
But you can play here, right?
I can play there, and in fact, I did. I did respond with E8, and then you captured on F9.
Right. So you, in the end, you did get this, because then you must have captured E7, right?
I did. Yes, I captured E7, and then you played a 2-stack on I8.
Right. And the point of I8, like the point of it was actually a bit strange. The reason why I wanted to be able to make a move which would look both at the target, which was really E8, but I also wanted to look along this line of sight as well. But what I didn't count on, like what I kind of stupidly didn't realize that basically, like, this move doesn't actually make a difference to the red lines of sight in this direction, because it's already a line of sight here. So, like, and there's no way for me to play on these other ones that might have made such a difference. So in such a way, it was kind of a fancy way to play one of these other moves. But yeah. But the one thing that I could say maybe is that by playing here, it gives this one more lines of sight, which may come in handy later if, like, white gets around there and needs 3 lines of sight in some other direction.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's probably slightly more efficient than like F8, but I guess similar idea. So after, let's see, after I8, then I played C7.
You played C7, yeah.
Yeah.
So I must have captured here.
C7, you captured on E8, and then I captured on D6.
Yeah, and that forces this capture on d6 because otherwise e7 will be captured, and then
Right,
that will kind of free c6 or d6.
that's right. D6, and then you played a 2-stack on C2. Or a, oh, no, 2-stack, a 1-stack, sorry, on C2.
Right, and I was kind of actually realizing like this move also looks pretty nice, but it's a
Yeah.
little bit slow. But it does look nice because it further. But I was really worried that if I played this move, even though I could win on we win c7 basically.
Right.
The problem, well, actually, it's maybe also not so certain because if I do this, then there's like a potential snapback. But the other problem is that if I spend another move in the bottom, then you're going to come down hard on the top and just start ruining things for me.
Right. I could even play C1 as well. There. So if you play C8 here and I play C1, then I can have any parries I want. So
No, what? You can't parry. What do you mean?
no. Like let's say you don't, like if you don't capture, like this, essentially this forces you to capture.
Right. Okay.
Right. That's what I'm saying. And then I probably will do okay on the top. But anyways,
I think if like for instance, if I would have played like G10 capturing, this would be a really slow capture and allowing you to have your way on the top. But
right.
this move I think was kind of necessary. Maybe there could be arguments made for maybe different moves defending the top, but I really like these kind of bridge or knight moves that where the 1-stacks are adding so many different lines of sight to the what's the word, intervening squares, intervening
right.
stuff.
Yeah, I thought she was like a super good move. I just didn't see it before. The other thing it does is that like I have to defend c7, I think, because if you take c7, like let's just say I ignore it and I play like b3 or something, or play somewhere else, like maybe e3 here as well. I don't know. This seems pretty bad for white. Like ideally white wants to win on the left, but now it looks like red's getting ahead on the left.
Because the only thing left is this 1-stack, really. I mean,
right.
I mean, you have a lot of lines of sight, but I don't know.
Right. So yeah, I defended after you played c1. I did, or sorry, c2. I played c4.
Right. So this is basically a shield that doesn't add any lines of sight.
And the further problem with c3 is that it prevents any shield. So like hypothetically, if somehow I could have 3 lines of sight on c3, then I could play a shield on c3. But you have 3 lines of sight there, and I only have 2. So I can't even shield on c3, and therefore I don't have as many lines of sight into the right side. So
where can I play now? Did I do this one?
So c4. Then you played d3.
What? D3?
D3. That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
So once I saw this, I was like, I think I was considering resigning, but I played on a little bit more because at this point, I don't even have a clear way to attack d3. Like,
and actually, this alleyway here. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
This alleyway is very important in the orthodox. In this type of position, we've seen it so many times where red can play c2, and that is like a move which gives red a little bit of flexibility on how to shape the top territory, because there's got to be something. Red just needs to like defend the bottom and then try to at least make something on the top.
Right.
And if red gets 2 moves through this alleyway, starting first with c2 and then later on playing d3, if red already played this one, then yeah, this is going to be a 3-stack. And getting a 3-stack on the 3rd line is like, these are our shape pieces, because this is a 3-stack where now if I get, for instance, just like, okay, pass for white and then just one more move, like already this is solid territory.
Right. Yeah. So I guess probably going forward with like the theory, it would be helpful if we could figure out a move for white to cut off that corridor before red can take advantage of it. But the problem is like it's not totally obvious what like when white should try to do that, because any move in the middle to cut off that corridor is really, really slow.
Looks super slow. Yeah.
Exactly. So after d3, I played e2. I tried to do some sort of invasion there.
Yeah, which I was pretty scared about at this point. I was like, oh man, because I just spent all this time defending, or like trying to build a big top, and I was like realizing, no, that's just gonna be impossible. And
Right.
yeah, I had to take an L at this stage, like in this part of the board, because there was nothing to do about it.
So you played d2.
Yeah, because I felt like the top left was bigger than the top right.
Yeah. It should be noted that white can't actually do an invasion. So like, for example, if white plays, let's say white plays b3 here, this doesn't work.
No, wait, hang on. Like this.
Yeah, like that.
But b2, I think.
Well, actually, if white plays b3 and then red responds with b3 and then red responds with c3, then there is an idea of like a4.
Yeah, that's annoying. I think that's what I saw when I was calculating the game.
But the problem now is that like now e2 is falling, and then so okay, red loses a little bit on the top left, but then red wins a little bit in the top right.
This
so
would be huge. Yeah.
Exactly. So kind of no matter what white tries to do in terms of an invasion, they won't be able to win everything, I don't think. So after d2, I played f2.
Yeah, which is a pretty annoying double attack. And I realized here I didn't even need to do this defensive move. I think I should have just played directly this 3-stack.
Right. Yeah. Just to keep it, take advantage of it, I guess.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But
like
okay,
playing the shape moves right at the last moment when you know you can make them, because doing like this, now you have the opportunity to basically eliminate my opportunity to play a shape move.
Right. So you played g3 and then I played e10.
Yeah, I found this slightly annoying, but I was like, okay, whatever. If he wants to do some stuff, whatever. I did this, right?
Yep. E10 and then f10, then I played d9.
F10 and you did d9, and I'm sure I just captured.
D9, you captured e10, and then I played e1.
And you captured e1, and then I, of course, just defend.
E1, and then you played d1, I played i6.
And you play i6, and there's where we get to the point where now I can't do what I wanted to do. Like, so say white passes instead, I can play this 3-stack, and this just ensures that this will live very nicely. But now I have to fight pretty hard for this.
So i6, and then you played i5.
I6, and then I played i5. And the reason I played, because you can see that there's different parts of this wall to try to attack, or to use to defend. And I could do different things to try to defend it, but maybe I had better options. I'm not sure. Actually, this looked way better. I probably should have done that. What the? Look at that.
Well, no, i5 was actually good though, what you played, because
that looks crazy.
The problem is that I don't think k6 is working that well for me, because if I play k6 and then you cut with.
Did you do this? No, you didn't do this.
Well, after i5, I played j8.
Yeah, because say if you k6 and then I cut, then it's just double attack. So that's the reason why.
And the problem is, like, it's not just double attacks, right? It's the fact that none of my stacks on h5 or h6 are reinforced. So although they have 3 lines of sight, it doesn't really matter, because eventually you're going to be able to capture them all. Right. So like if we play k6 and then there, I can play like maybe g3 or something to win, or so I can maybe play g2 to win g3.
You can do this.
Or I can do some sort of reinforcing move. But then you have time to play the capture on k6, right?
Yeah, then it's not enough to win anyway.
So I tried like a last kind of ditch effort with j8, but
You can
course,
see
it
it's
doesn't
like the
work.
only only option for white to
Right.
so I was just like, okay, in that case,
J7, I think.
this I was really wanting to do this for the sake of getting the 3 stack here, but I'm sure you did this, right?
J7, and I played, well, I actually played J11.
Oh, yeah, because it's a sensei move. Makes sense. So I just do this one.
But you're a pro, you know how to defend that, so that didn't work. After I10, I played I7.
I7, yeah, and then of course my forced response is this one, and then this one ends up being not the
Exactly.
correct shape for life.
Exactly. And then this also means that I6 is going to be captured, right?
Yeah.
So it was pretty much done. So I7, you played J8, and then I passed here because not much too much for white to do.
I guess, but this is really
what the score here is. Hang on, red's ahead by a little bit, I think, and then
yeah.
go back. Can you go back to the position where I conceded the game after J7?
Wait, I want to see if yeah, I guess because I don't have much to give in terms of ground on this one, so I'll just continue capturing it. It'll be even worse.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. J7 or J8, sorry, and then I took a look at this, I think, after the game, and I looked to see if there's anything that I could have done a little bit, but to be honest with you, I think it's actually was lost for a while. Like, even if we assume that the score is pretty close, like the problem is that you're just going to win. You're just going to win a few more points,
Yeah.
just because of the stuff on I6, I7, and so on. So
Yeah. So this is already pretty far in, but you can kind of see, like, for those watching, you can kind of see how the Orthodox played out according to a game plan. When we start at the beginning, and red is making a few moves up top, and then quickly focusing on staking out a claim in the south, and using those pieces to sometimes send like lifelines of support to the top to build something a little bit through the right side, middle, and on the left. And white is just creating this kind of monstrous group that will expand throughout. And because it has such a central influence, it's very difficult to attack. But it's like difficult to meaningfully attack, but it's easy to use kind of these temporary dynamic weaknesses to create sensei moves for red to further build.
right. I guess I think when white is trying to do some sort of invasion on the bottom, I think that white does have to be pretty tactically precise, right? Because if red can just put up shields or parries while expanding the space in the bottom, then what usually happens, I think, is that white stacks get captured back. So like, for example, any invasion via J8, I mean, in this position, even earlier, can be quite difficult unless it comes with specific threats. So I feel like if white wants to do some sort of invasion, which I think they need to do in order to win, then those invasions need to come with concrete threats as opposed to just like random outposts of pieces.
Yeah, and that's why this move is also so good on e6 for red. This e6 variation, preventing white from playing g8 right away is super nice.
Right.
Because at this point, white at this point, red has no even reason to try to build a huge territory in the bottom. But at this point, it still makes sense because white kind of wants to spend a move here, which, looking back, I wonder if we're going to see more of this move.
Yeah, this is a move I kind of forgot about, but looking back some of these games, I feel like I'd be open to playing this because, for example, like red has a tempo move here, but it doesn't actually work. So like e4, for example, by red to threaten d4, that just fails to e5, right?
Exactly.
And I don't think that sacrifice works. So for example, like e4, e5, and then maybe red wants to get a 2-stack on h7 as like a sacrifice. Like they use e4 as a sacrifice, but I don't know. I don't know about this.
Okay, this might still lead to a similar type of position, actually. If white's in a clump, red's on the bottom, but white actually doesn't need to capture here.
Right.
Let's see. Is this really as good as it gets for? Oh my God. Did we just refute Hootie's novelty with our own novelty on the fly?
Sorry, refute as in demonstrate why white is, well, hang on a second though. Like why is white, maybe white doesn't need to capture immediately though, right? Or
White doesn't need to capture, but it looks strange. And also these kind of moves make it look similar to the other variation, which we kind of know don't work. But maybe these will work in this variation. I don't know.
Oh, maybe J8, is that doing anything? Or even like H8. Is H8 working? No, I don't think H8 is working.
This is really interesting.
The problem is G8 is so weak, right? Like that's.
Yeah, no, I don't like it. But
I think that white needs to play farther away, like G10 or something.
Like, still tactically, this is a bit. I mean, it's nice to get. Yeah, it's nice to get a piece in there so that, you know, if once red does this kind of cutting off move, white has at least one sente move before red tries to do like serious attacks. And just the fact that the sente move is there means that white has multiple positions to build from.
Hang on though. So what about, go back, just I see like an interesting line. So instead of E5 for white, what about A4 for white to parry? And now G10.
So A4, A3, and then G10.
Is that working, or is that like is that losing too much?
I mean, we can try it, but this looks crazy for red to because red's top north looks really strong now all of a sudden.
Okay. No, I don't think that works. I think that white has to defend with B2 temporarily there. So after D3 takes, so A3, and then G10.
G10 still?
Yeah, G10, and then B2.
This is just losing both of those pieces.
Okay, I guess it doesn't work still because the C3 cut still works.
But what if, can we spend one move to just like, or is it too slow?
Well, actually, if you think about it, it's still kind of annoying for red to try to prevent the 2-stack on G10 because G6 doesn't work, right? Basically, if red wants to avoid white getting a 2-stack down there, red needs to play either G6 or G7. G6 is just bad, I think. Although, hang on a second. There's G6, H6, and then red has F5 counterattacking D5.
This looks crazy. What about here? Here.
Captures, right? Oh, that's good.
I have no idea. I'm just playing out the captures. Red's ahead in this variation, but white has probably some potential.
I don't know. The red's group is so strong. And also, red has K7 still, right?
Oh yeah, red's super ahead because red's going to capture all these, and Red's group is just way bigger than white's group.
Right. I kind of want to start experimenting with the D3 though. I feel like it.
I think this move is
It's kind of
okay.
good.
What did red do in this position?
We didn't have a move for red here. I don't think we played into this. This is new.
I just undid a bunch of moves.
Oh, when you're talking about us, I thought you were talking about like you and like Hootie before. Red played G6 here. It's like a sacrifice essentially.
Right. Well, let's do something else. Well, we can do red at G6. It's fine.
And now white F5 maybe.
Yeah, F5 way better than H6. I mean, I was on the contested spot. Now everything is captured. What is red gonna do?
H7. Maybe.
H7. Okay, let's just capture.
Oh, but then then G7.
G7. And let's be careful here. I don't want to get too. Like the thing is, this E4 stack is already gone.
Yeah, but white does need to be careful because
red can get the bottom again.
Like if H4 is a 3 stack though, then like red's not only winning like on the bottom, like red's doing pretty well on the right side, and that 3 stack is going to be kind of difficult to take out, right?
Well, if I capture this in 35 for red, capture them with 37-34 for white. This doesn't look great because red has one move to just be like, you know.
Right. But still, G6 is a bit, it's still a bit risky. Like red can also play G7, right? G7 is a lot more safe, I think.
Yeah, let's just say red G7, then we have this move.
Well, that's H7, but maybe H7 works too.
Oh, okay, so it's block. Yeah, it's good to block.
Because keep in mind, like now, if white continues to attack with like I7, then red has a 2 stack shield, so that's like pretty nice.
Yeah. But now this one move still looks good because actually white has a line of sight to the bottom now, and it's not as cool for red to defend against it. I have this one though.
Yeah, but I don't know, the G6, it like attacks a neutral and then I7 falls.
Yeah,
but then break its I5 later. I don't know. That's interesting.